Hi everyone, welcome back to another speed build video. This is Shermy Bear and Happy New Year guys. I'm finally back. Today we're gonna be building a cliffside, well seaside I guess, a seaside property on a cliff. I imagine this house to be quite an expensive one because of the location. It is actually a pretty beautiful place. This is one of the lots on the island in Windenburg. I don't really know what this one is called. I renamed this lot to the December shell challenge. If you can see on the top left hand corner, it was actually meant to be a submission for lilsimsie's December challenge last year, but I never managed to get it up on time. I was still building it halfway through. I was very busy with like streaming stuff on Twitch and stuff because I'm part of this program right now called Pathway. I'll link details down below if you guys want to find out what it is, but it is basically taking up a lot of my time. But no excuses though. Now that I pretty much have a grasp on how things are going, I am pretty confident in saying that I am back for good, and I am intending on putting out at least one speed build every week for the whole of this year. So definitely stay tuned for more content from me on this channel. If you like Sims 4 builds, definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, so let's talk more about this build right now. As you can see, I am using the terrain tool to try to figure out like a whole cliff situation. Since this is a shell challenge, I didn't have to think too much about the exterior. I just added some balcony to the structure so that it makes more sense, because it's like quite weird on its own and I don't really know how to do roofing very well, and I wasn't intending on doing a very traditional or suburban looking house type of build as well. So going more modern, I decided to do something like this, and I decided that putting it straight on the ground looked kind of weird. Also, I was having trouble trying to figure out where Sims will access this property by, because as you can see, I think if you look closely at the surroundings, there's a couple of little paths through the forest or the wooded area. For Sims to actually access this area, there's more than one path, so I had trouble trying to figure out like where the front of the lot should be, where the back of the lot should be. And then I decided that maybe they just can access this lot from multiple places. So I just decided that just situating this house on a hill or like a cliff sort of situation, a tiny cliff I guess, should give this house some sort of privacy and security. And I decided that there should be like multiple points of entrance to this house. I think in the end I have like 2 different staircases leading up to this house, one from the back and one from the front, or rather one from the wooded area and one that is like sea facing, I would say. At this point I have not decided on like a certain style. I wasn't even really settled on what kind of style I want the house itself to be, but I think in the end I decided to roll with whatever I painted the house in, which is like this wooden house, a modern wooden house that looks like a hilltop seaside retreat villa sort of situation. It's really just very fun to create something like this. This is totally from my imagination. This is the first ever shell challenge I've ever done, even though it's not an entry and we are very late. I had a lot of fun trying to figure out how to make this shell work for us, because it's so weird. I focused a lot on trying to make the balconies and the patios, the verandas, all these like exterior outdoor areas look nice and bordered and very I don't know, seaside, modern seaside looking house. I wanted it to look kind of expensive. I wanted it to look like it's been made because some rich man fell in love with this seaside space, this little hill, and he wanted his house to be situated on top of this little hilltop situation. It honestly looks very weird because it is just a protrusion in the ground within the lot space, but its surrounding is pretty much just empty flat floors with no mountains, no cliff sides, no nothing. But if we ignore these unnatural decisions that I've made for the terrain, I actually think I did a very good job manipulating the terrain to make it look as if it's really like a house built with the cliffside in mind, instead of tearing the cliffside down to make space for a whole new property. You know, it looks like it's grown out from the cliff almost, and I really like that little element to it. I didn't make this property with any type of family in mind, but I think for someone to actually live in this area or in this property, they should be someone who loves the sea a lot, who loves the seaside, to swim, to fish. This property actually has 2 bedrooms, one for maybe a pair of parents, and another one can either be a guest room or a teenager's bedroom. That is how I decorated it to be. You will see later that I also laid down, or rather put down, a litter box and some food bowls for a kitty or 2. I imagine that this household would probably own a couple of pets, so I just made space for at least a cat and possibly a dog. I can totally see a dog in this household. It's gonna be so fun to see, like, you know, to go on jogs with the dog on the beach. I don't know, like just to hang out with your pets, play with your pets. Anyway, moving on to the inside. One thing you should know, I struggled very hard with the floor plan, the planning of the floor plan in this place, because it is such a weirdly shaped long box. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough room for staircase, a nice living room area, dining room, kitchen area, and above at least 2 bedrooms and at least 1 ensuite. There was a lot of fiddling around to do. At one point I just like lost track because of how narrow everything is, like where is what and where should rooms be, how many balconies there should be, how many balcony access there should be to each room. I finally at the end managed to figure out a space situation that would work in a way where every single bedroom has access to a balcony, and the hallway area has also its own access to its own balcony as well. Both of them ended up having ensuite bathrooms, and oh, and I forgot, there's also a ladder access to the 3rd floor or the attic where the home gym is going to be. Since we're here in the interior now, I want to just mention that in total we do have 3 bathrooms. One halfway, I guess it's called like a 2.5 bath, because the bathroom on the 1st floor is just a powder room of sorts with just toilet and a basin, a sink, that's all. And on the top there will be 2 4-piece full bathrooms, so the occupants or the inhabitants of this lot can happily have their own bathrooms to themselves, whoever they may be. Okay, at this point we have the structure of the house, the floor plan done, and now we are working on the kitchen. I chose to use these cabinets, counters from Jungle Adventure. I think they might actually be like my favorite, or one of my favorite counters of all time in the game so far. At least I really like how they look, and I decided to do a layout like this one. It is more of like a center of the home sort of situation, where when you enter the room or enter your house, you will be able to see the kitchen and the dining room in full view. It's more of like an open concept situation. You can see that I also put down the pet bowls, the food bowls, by the little nook that appeared because of the way I laid out the kitchen. And now working on the dining room, I decided to go for a round table because, like, in that square, I just feel like a round table is the answer to make this space look so much more well utilized. And when it came to deciding the wallpaper, it took me a very long time to decide. I think this black is definitely not going to be staying. It's going to be changed again and again and again and again and again. It's very tough for me to decide between like a dark interior and a light interior, because personally I really do love my dark and moody, sort of like just more cozy looking, cozy feeling interior. I just naturally gravitate towards darker interiors. So for quite a while, you'll see me trying to figure out how I want the bottom floor to look like. I do spend quite a little bit of time trying to decide what I want this stairway to look like, whether I want it to be wood, whether I want it to be stone, you know, things like that. And yeah, continuing on with the wallpaper, I'm just doing wallpaper again and again and again and again and again. I still don't know, I really love how cozy the black wallpaper, the black stone brick sort of situation makes the whole place look very warm and cozy, and just like more, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an introvert or something. I just like how everything's just so dark and Well, I think it just veered on gloomy, but I didn't want it to look gloomy in the end. So you can see that I ultimately settled for something that is less dark, but I really liked the texture of like a stone wall situation in this cabin looking place. I mean, it doesn't really look like a cabin, but like a modern rendition of a cabin on top of a hill. So I wanted some of that element of stone. So you'll see that on some of the walls. You'll see that I added tiles to the kitchen and used the Jungle Adventure wallpaper that matches the kitchen wall for the rest of the house, so that we get a little bit of like a mixture of texture. And I also don't sacrifice on texture, because I like how this plain wall still holds that sort of texture to it. Like, it just looks like, I don't know, is this a stucco wall or something? Stucco wall? I like how it's plain, but it still has that graininess to it that makes the house look more, well, modern, contemporary, more just interesting and less, well, boring, I guess. Okay, I just spoke through the whole downstairs powder room situation, but basically you saw that it was like just a square. And now you see that I'm working on furnishing the living room. I tried to give a little bit more of like a pop of color to this little narrow room that I chose to have the media TV room be in. I just thought that it would be weird to not have a living room situation in this house, so I just shoved it behind the stairs where the entrance is. I thought it was quite a nice cozy area, but it's a little bit too small, so I just don't really like that space. But I just you know, I made do with what I had. I just realized that after putting in the kitchen and the dining room, there's really not enough space for a proper living room area, and that's where I chose to put the living room. And I don't mind it. It's a cozy little corner, but it's more of a cozy little corner than a actual living room. Alright, now moving on to the upstairs portion of the house. Working with the stairwell situation and all the floor plan is even worse on the top floor. You can see that I'm like still doing some adjustments here and there, trying to make sure that everything makes sense. At one point I had the ladder that leads up to the home gym in the attic in one of the rooms instead of outside where it's public, so I moved it out. I changed the walls again and again and it's gonna be changing a lot again and again. I begin with furnishing this little narrow room that is the guest room slash teenager's bedroom. I decided to furnish this for a teenage girl, so I painted the room a nice pale purple shade. I ultimately gave her, because of how narrow her room is, I decided to utilize the corridor area to put in a nice sofa and a reading area, a reading nook sort of situation in front of the window. I could have put in a closet or two instead to store her clothing, but I just felt like it would be a much better use of space if I just used this corridor area as like a little reading nook situation. I was just thinking of like what I would like myself, and I concluded that I would love it if I had like a little reading nook situation, a very comfy little corner, even though it's not really a corner, it's more like a corridor to separate my workspace and my sleeping space. And I thought that nook was the best way to do it. And with this toilet, it took me quite a while to try to figure out how to make this work, because I didn't want to use the university or the Snowy Escape Packs standing shower thingy that you could use to minimize space, because it really just takes like a very small amount of space. I really wanted a shower stall situation, so I went with a little bit of like a L-shaped situation, so it makes sense. I can shove that shower into the wall, into the box that I made for it, while having the basin and the toilet on the side. And yeah, that just makes so much more sense in my head, and that is pretty much the end of the teenager's bedroom. Moving on, we are moving on to the master suite, the master bedroom area, which I imagine is going to be for like a pair of parents. This one has a really weird floor plan too. As you can see, it is so small, it's barely enough for a double bed. But I really wanted to have a double bed situation because it is for parents, and I really tried to make sure that both sides of the bed can be accessed, because I really distrust the scooting mechanics of Sims, because it's not always going to work. So I didn't want to take a chance for that to happen. That would have been very frustrating. As for the rest of the room and the ensuite, I just focused on making it look nice. I basically copied and pasted the floor tiles and wallpaper from the toilet in the teenager's bedroom, and yeah, that was how I just kind of pulled a whole bathroom situation together. And also I just realized that the teenager's bathroom does not have a 4-piece, it is a 3-piece with only a shower. I just forgot about that, so sorry, but it is, well, now we know there's one 4-piece and one 3-piece bathroom on the top floor. And I'm just really adding in like necessities in a bedroom. I really like the idea of having like a workspace situation in the bedroom. I know that it's not really like a thing that is encouraged when it comes to productivity and livelihood and stuff, but it's just a really useful way of using space in the Sims game. And I do that in my own life too. I think a lot of us actually do that in our lives as well, because we don't have that much space. So I just do that here as well, because we do not have that much space here as well. I really liked how the whole bedroom turned out as well, because I just think that it just looks very elegant, very parent-like, but maybe not dated. It's just tasteful. It's nice. And from this point onwards, we are doing the indoor public area of the house, including this landing area where I decided that I should put in some, I don't know, I just wanted a way to fill in space, and I kind of like the idea of a seating area where people can chat or hang out by the stairwell. I don't know why it's a thing, but it just looks very nice, so I just did that for this build. In the attic area, there's only one small portion of the roof that can be used, because that is the only part of the roof that is big enough for the Sims to even get into. And I decided to just convert this into like a home gym. You can always turn it into something else, like a hobby area where you can put in like I don't know, crafting tables. Oh well, but toddlers cannot get up, but I guess children can, so crafting tables can be a thing here. But it's a teenager sort of space, so I thought a gym would be the best situation for the days where it's raining and the occupants cannot just go out and have a nice outdoor run, things like that. That was how I imagined things to be. Like, this should be a very active household, since there's so much more outdoor space than there is indoor space in this house. Now moving on to the outside of the house, after dealing with some of the night lights outside the house, the exterior lights I think, we are now furnishing the outsides, the decks, the verandas, the balconies. We have a lot of them in this build. I even really wanted to put in a hot tub on the bottom floor, but in the end it didn't really work because it's just too big and we don't really have a lot of space. I have plans to make a very nice barbecue outdoor dining area, al fresco almost, but not a restaurant. Just really like that idea, so I just went with that one instead. Later you will see, I don't know why I'm just getting very excited about that one. I really love my al fresco dining situation, so I'm just putting in some railings. I don't know if I'm changing that one. I might be changing the railings to something else in a little bit, but right now I'm just adding in a nice picnic table, 4-seater, and also a barbecue situation at some point. Just making this look very nice and picnicky, and I don't know, just very nice outdoor area. And I really love my fairy lights in all my builds. I really just love fairy lights in general. Fairy lights, festoon lights, whatever you call these things, just these lights just make any space look so romantic and nice. For the back veranda, I'm just putting in some of these flower things. I just want it to look very nicely put together. I also included this little sitting area viewing deck situation for anyone who wants to hang out on these decks to, you know, just hang out, enjoy the view and stuff. We have a lot of views, 360 degrees all around. All these veranda situation, all these decks, they just fell together. They just came together on their own. There's no rhyme or reason for how I do things. From this point on, I just put in things where I think make sense, where I think it looks good. I pretty much fiddled till I was happy with how the decks look. I didn't really know what hobbies to give the occupants of this house. You can see that it's an easel somewhere on the second floor right now. I ended up putting in some vertical planters and some circular pots all around this deck right here to kind of cover up this little corner, this curved corner on this platform that doesn't, I don't know why, but railings just don't adhere to that place. So in order to make it safe for everyone, I just pretended that those vertical planters were installed into the deck instead. And yeah, it was a tough decision trying to decide whether I should put the mailbox and bin in the front, in the back. I don't even know where the front or the back is, but I decided to put it here facing the sea. There's no random reason. So if you ever choose to download this build, just feel free to move the bin and the post box, well, the letterbox, wherever you want. And now onwards to the final part, which is potentially my favorite part of this build. It came as a surprise to me how much I ended up loving this little layered deck area that I've designed right here, well, built right here. I liked how I used this vampire pack fence in the end for all the decks on the first floor, and I installed festoon lights, fairy lights all over the place. For some of these lights and furnitures, I actually had to utilize the 2 mod to put them down back into the ground because of how the terrain, the raised terrain, just makes these objects not behave the way they should. They're not like adhering to the ground at all because of the angle. I'm not sure if the chair, the bench in that area is usable, but at least it looks good there. Like, it looks like another romantic area for couples and whoever to hang out and enjoy the view. It's certainly not the most reasonable thing to have in a property, in a house property, but I think for a special house, a special build like this, who knows what the owner of this house like. Anyways, I'm almost at the end of this build now. I'm just going in with like all the landscaping and stuff, which was actually quite a burden. quite a struggle for me to do. I don't think I'm the best at landscaping. I think landscaping is pretty hard, and when it comes to like a terrain like this, I honestly don't know what grows where, and I just wanted to make it look nice, but at the same time, like, I don't imagine the people living here will be climbing the dangerous parts of this house every day to try to landscape this place. So I just kept primarily with this wildflower situation that you see right here. I really like this one. I think this might be my favorite landscaping flower. They just look so whimsical and nice, and I thought it just made quite a bit of sense. I honestly don't know if flowers grow in these areas like this, but I honestly don't care. I think as long as it looks good, I am okay with it, I guess. It just makes me feel better about it. Anyways, I'm just laying down terrain paint right now where the flowers grow, just make it look nicer, make it look more cohesive with some terrain paint, some gravel to demarcate where the actual pathway is. And then also, this one was like a afterthought sort of situation. I actually forgot to put some more lights where it's actually very dark outside. So I went in with some street lamps and some more festoon lights on the outside where the mini garden platform thing is. And with these final touches, I think we are done. We are at the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you have, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how you think about this build down below. This build will also be available on the gallery under the ID ShermieBear. Be sure to subscribe if you liked what you see, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye!